By the 19th century, Indian society was facing serious social and religious challenges. Many thinkers began asking one important question: can Hindu society reform itself from within? This question gave birth to several modern reform movements within Hinduism. This movement aimed to remove social evils while preserving the deeper spiritual values of Indian tradition. Among the most important movements are the Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, Prarthana Samaj and Satyashodhak Samaj. Although this movement had different ideas and methods, they share one broad goal: to create a more rational, ethical and socially progressive society. Let us begin with the Brahmo Samaj. It was founded by Raja Rammohan Roy in 1828 in Calcutta, now known as Kolkata. Rammohan Roy is often called one of the pioneers of modern Indian reform. He believed that religion should be based on reason, morality and spiritual truth. The Brahmo Samaj strongly believed in one supreme God. It rejected the idea that God must be worshipped through countless images and rituals. For the Brahmo Samaj, true religion was not about blind customs. It was about devotion to God, moral living and the search for truth. The movement also strongly opposed social evils. Its most famous struggle was against the practice of sati, in which widows are burned on their husband's funeral pyre. Rammohan Roy argued that sati was both inhuman and contrary to the true spirit of religion. His reform effort played an important role in its abolition. The Brahmo Samaj also supported widow remarriage and strongly encouraged female education. It opposed child marriages and supported reform that could improve the social position of women in Indian society. But the Brahmo Samaj was not simply a social reform organization. It also tried to reinterpret Hinduism through the ideas of reason and universal religion. It drew inspiration from the Upanishad, but also accepted the importance of rational thinking and certain modern ideas from the West. Later leaders such as Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen helped expand the movement and develop its religious and social ideas. However, differences over religious belief and method eventually created division within the Brahmo Samaj. Even so, its historical importance is enormous. It introduced a powerful idea: Hindu society could reform itself by using reason, ethical values and spiritual reflection. While the Brahmo Samaj looked towards reason and universal religion, another movement turned strongly towards the ancient Vedas. This was the Arya Samaj. The Arya Samaj was founded by Swami Dayanand Saraswati in 1875. Its central slogan was simple and powerful: back to the Vedas. Swami Dayanand believed that the Vedas contained the pure and original truth of Hindu religion. He strongly criticized idol worship, blind faith, meaningless rituals, and the authority of priests when it was not supported by true knowledge. For Dayanand, religion should be based on truth, reason, and the teaching of the Vedas, not on superstition. The Arya Samaj also attacked the caste system based on birth. It argued that social status should depend on qualities and action. This was an important distinction. The movement did not simply reject social classification. It challenged the idea that birth alone should decide a person's position. The Arya Samaj strongly supported education. It emphasized school and colleges to spread modern and Vedic learning. It also promoted education for women, and supported widow remarriage. In this way, religion reform became closely connected with social reform. One important Arya Samaj activity was the Shuddhi movement. It aimed to bring people who had left Hinduism back into the Hindu fold. This created both support and controversy. It showed that the Arya Samaj was not only a religion movement but also a powerful social and cultural organization. The Arya Samaj also encouraged self-respect and rational consciousness among Indians during the colonial period. Its greatest contribution was perhaps its combination of ancient Vedic pride with modern education and social activism. So, while the Brahmo Samaj said reform through reason, the Arya Samaj strongly declared return to the original truth of the Vedas. Now we come to a movement with a different approach, the Ramakrishna Mission. It was founded by Swami Vivekananda in 1897. The movement was inspired by the spiritual teaching of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Vivekananda's guru. Sri Ramakrishna believed that different religions could lead to the same ultimate truth. This idea becomes central to the Ramakrishna tradition. Swami Vivekananda expressed this idea through the principle of religious harmony. He believed that religions are different paths towards the same spiritual goal. But Vivekananda did not want spirituality to remain limited to temples and personal meditation. He famously emphasized service to humanity. For him, serving the poor and suffering was itself a form of worship. This idea can be understood through the principle of Shiv Gyane Jiv Seva, serving living beings with the awareness of the divine within them. The Ramakrishna Mission therefore combined spiritual development with social service. It established school, hospital, relief center, and educational institution. It worked reach people during natural disaster and social crisis. The movement also emphasized the development of character. Vivekananda believed that education should create strong, fearless, and morally responsible human beings. His famous message was that strength and self-confidence are essential for individual and national progress. Unlike some reform movement, the Ramakrishna Mission did not simply reject Hindu tradition. Instead, it presented Hindu spirituality with a modern and universal form, while connecting it with science, education, and social service. Therefore, its central message was clear. Real spirituality must express itself through compassion, strength, and service. Another important reform movement was the Prarthana Samaj. It was founded in Bombay in 1867. The movement was influenced by the ideas of the Brahmo Samaj, but it developed its own approach to reform within Hindu society. Its major leaders include Dr. Atmaram Pandurang, Mahadev Govind Ranade, R.G. Bhandarkar. The Prarthana Samaj believed in the worship of one God. It emphasized simple prayer rather than complicated ritual and ceremonies. But its main focus was social reform. It wanted to improve the actual condition of people's living. The movement strongly supported widow remarriage and female education. It also opposed child marriage. It worked to improve the condition of lower social group and encourage reform within Hindu society. Mahadev Govind Ranade believed that social progress required gradual and practical reform. This is an important point. The Prarthana Samaj generally prefer reform through education, discussion, and social action rather than sudden revolution. Its approach was moderate, but its objectives are highly significant. In simple words, the Prarthana Samaj tried to make Hindu society more human, ethical and socially progressive through practical reforms. Now we reach one of the most radical reform movement of the 19th century, the Satyashodhak Samaj. It was founded by Jyotirao Phule in 1873. The name Satyashodhak Samaj means the Society of Seeker of Truth. Phule's main concern was the oppression of lower caste and marginalized communities. He strongly criticized the caste system and the social dominance of the Brahmin elite. Phule argued that social inequality was not simply a religious issue. It was a system of power that denied education, dignity, and opportunities to many people. This makes the Satyashodhak Samaj different from many other reform movements of the period. While several reforms focused mainly on religious reform, Phule directly challenged social hierarchy and caste-based oppression. He believed that education was the most powerful weapon against social injustice. Together with Savitribai Phule, he worked for the education of girls and oppressed communities. The Satyashodhak Samaj also opposed expensive religious ceremonies and the control of priests over important social rituals. It encouraged simple marriages and social practices that did not depend on priestly authority. Phule's reform idea was therefore deeply connected with equality, social justice, and human dignity. In many ways, the Satyashodhak Samaj moved reform beyond religion and directly into the question of social power. Now let us compare these five movements. The Brahmo Samaj emphasized reason, monotheism, and the reform of Hindu religious ideas. The Arya Samaj looked towards the Vedas and demand a return to what it considered the original purity of Hindu religion. The Ramakrishna Mission emphasized spiritual harmony, religious universalism, and service to humanity. The Prarthana Samaj focused on simple worship and gradual social reform, especially in the area of education and women's rights. And the Satyashodhak Samaj directly challenged caste oppression and demanded social equality for marginalized communities. So we can see that this movement did not follow one single path. They represented different answers to the problem of 19th century in Indian society. Some reformers looked towards reason, others looked towards the Vedas, some emphasized spiritual unity, while others directly attacked caste inequality. But together, they created a new cultural questioning. They encouraged people to examine custom instead of accepting every tradition blindly. This was the deeper meaning of modern Hindu reform movements. They connected religion with reason, education, morality, and social responsibility. Their influence also extended beyond religion. They contributed to the growth of social consciousness and, in many cases, modern Indian nationalism. Most importantly, this movement showed that tradition and reform did not always have to be enemies. Tradition could be questioned, reinterpreted, and transformed according to new social and moral needs. Thus, Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, Prarthana Samaj, and Satyashodhak Samaj become important forces of change in modern India. Their methods are defined, their philosophies are defined, and something their goals are even sharply opposed. Yet each movement helps challenge ignorance, social injustice, or religious dogmatism in its own way. Together, they created a powerful reform tradition that continue to shape our understanding of Hinduism and modern Indian society today. If you are still watching, I hope you are finding this content useful. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thought in the comment. Your support motivates me to create even more content like this.